Hello and welcome to another Demon 212 PS4 PSN review. Today I'm going to be taking a look at Strider, which if you've never played it before, it's a side-scrolling action, adventure-y type thing. It's a reboot of the original Strider, but that doesn't mean that because you've played it you're going to like it, and it also doesn't mean that because you've played it there's no reason to play this one, because they've done a few things different, including adding Metroidvania aspects to the game with an upgrade system and that to allow you to reach certain areas, and I quite like that. The extras: you only get concept art, character intel and story intel, of which it's one of those. People complained that they could have done the original game or the original two games, like the Mega Drive ports or the arcade ports or something like that, and for the price of £12 it would have been nice, because it's a little overpriced for what you're getting for a digital download of something, but at the same time it's an amazing game and I'm glad I've bought it for the £12, because hopefully that would mean that we'd get more of them, although now Amazon have bought the dev out, I believe, so I don't know how that would work. Options wise, you can go and view your controls but you can't change them. You can go into your how to play, you can go into the settings and choose a few things. The how to play just gives you some basic hints as you'd expect and shows you some of the items, which I'm going to try my best not to really mention anything and show anything, because I know for anything that's a Metroidvania sort of game, people like to experience it themselves and then they kick off if you divulge too much into the new items. I remember when I did a Legend of Zelda review and people said, how could you show them spoilers? And I eventually worked out what he meant was, how could you show those items? You know, and it's just one of those. I never really know what to do. I either do them and do a slightly better vid, or I don't do them and appease more people. So seeing as this is a brand new sort of game, then I'd rather just not annoy as many people by doing anything that could be considered a spoiler. So went on to a new game, skipped the story. I'm just going to be mentioning the basic aspect, and I'll probably show you like the first thing off because you come up against it really soon actually. Gameplay, as you can see, it is Strider. It plays exactly as you'd expect it to play, at least it did for me. I thought, looking at it, yeah, this is Strider. Then I played it and it's just like, yeah, this is Strider. You can do all the sorts of stuff that you used to be able to do, I believe. At least I can't. If there's something that you can't do now, then I can't remember it, if you know what I mean. Because everything's there, like the wall jumping, the climbing on certain items, everything that I could think of that I used to be able to do, I could do on this one. The only difference is, graphically, this is stunning. It is the best looking Strider I've ever played, bar none. The Metroidvania stuff, as I say, is there now, and it's fantastic because it adds a new depth to the gameplay, because there's things that you can do and that you couldn't do before, and it gives you more of a reason to play it. Musically, I think it sounds pretty cool, so I will shut up and let you listen to a bit to end the vid. But there's nothing much really I can say about it. For the length of the game, I've heard some people complain, and I've heard some people complain about a lot of things, and I'm going to very quickly mention them now. Lengthwise, I think people were complaining because a lot of days there's a lot of times these days, I missed out a whole sentence there. There's trophies for beating games in a certain time, and people then assume, because they've seen that the game's short. I honestly don't think anyone's going to be able to beat the game in under 4 hours, which is what the trophy is, on their very first playthrough. But I've heard people complain about the length, and I can only assume that that's what they think is the deal, that it is a short game. I reckon it's the sort of thing that you're going to have to replay it a couple times, unless you are an absolute master of Strider, and I've spent a long time looking at guides and things like that to learn every nook and cranny of the game, you know? To learn basically what's an essential thing to do and what's a non-essential thing to do. And it's just one of those. It's a bit of a shame that people are saying that it's a bit short, because it isn't really, when you consider how many times you're going to have to replay things. And then there's also the length, because of the difficulty. Because that's the other complaint as well, the difficulty. Basically, I reckon the difficulty of the game is really good, and therefore it's going to add more length to it than that. However, the complaints I've heard over the difficulty is, it's too hard. Well, it's Strider. It's an old school arcade style game. That's the whole point. It's supposed to be hard. Slating the game for being hard, and then also slating it for its length, is a bit of a double contradiction, you know? It's just one of those things. Well, if it wasn't hard, then it wouldn't be as long, so you'd be complaining more about its length. So it's like, what the hell, you know? it's just one of those things that it does grate on me, the amount of times that people, it's almost as if they don't think, just like, well, I want to complain about the length of it. Okay, you complain about the length of it, that's your problem. I'm going to complain about the difficulty. Well, you can't have it both ways. It's longer because it's harder. If it was easier, then it would be shorter, and it's like, it's just things like that. It really does grate on me, and especially when people slate a game for it being hard, especially a game that's supposed to be hard. It's like with Ninja Gaiden 3, like I mentioned in that review recently. It's just one of those, you shouldn't slate a game because you're bad at it. That's not done. It's not the way to do a review, really, and it just does grate on me, but I have pretty much mentioned, I think, everything that I can mention. I think, as I say, it is a decent length to the game, and I think it's also a very good challenge. You can change your difficulty level, as you might have noticed when I first booted the game file up there. It said I could choose different difficulties, so if you really are struggling, you can make it easier, and if you don't think it's hard enough, you can make it harder. So that's pretty much all I can say about the difficulty. So I'll just shut up for a little bit and end with that music that I said I was going to, and also this kind of boss fight. So that was a bit of the music. I wasn't really planning on mentioning anything else, but I kind of forgot. What we're going on to a new file, it does sometimes come with slight little problems, such as things that will be staring you at the face on your file aren't staring you in the face on the other file. It's just a couple little things that might help people get more out of the game. Personally, though, it's the sort of stuff that it's kind of so generic now. I'm kind of sick of seeing them. There's costume bits that you can get which just are aesthetic things, you know, that they just basically make Strider Hiryu look a little bit different, and they're at least kind of better than concept art and that, because at least they don't so much impact how you play the game, but they'll impact what you're looking at on the game. So they're a little bit better. There's then also two unlockable modes. There's a speedrun mode and a survival mode, and they're not as self-explanatory as they usually are. The speedrun mode is more a case of going from checkpoint to checkpoint. It's almost like a badly designed race mode for a game of this, so it is just about getting from A to B as fast as you can. And the survival mode, it's not a case of you get like one life to go through as much of the game or anything, which would kind of be cool. Instead, it's just fighting wave after wave of slowly getting harder enemies, you know. So now I really have mentioned everything that I suppose I can or should mention about the game. It's the sort of stuff that, as I say, it might add some value. For me personally, I'd have just rather had either the original games or something like that, you know, because I'm just kind of bored of survival modes and things just getting tacked on for the sake of it. It's not so much lazy developing, it's lazy game industry, because it's kind of the tried and tested, so everyone does it now, you know. So there we go then. That's been the review. I hope you found it helpful. I don't score the games because that's based purely on opinion, so instead I'll leave you to make your own mind up. So thanks for watching, and if you've got any questions about the game that I didn't answer in the vid or that hasn't been answered in the comments, then feel free to ask and I'll help if I can. Also, if you did find it helpful, don't forget to check out my channel, because there's plenty more like this up there, and don't forget to subscribe because there'll be plenty more to come as well. So until next time, this has been Demon212, signing off.